So I think you guys are really gonna like this one. The conversation that we have today is truly gonna be baffling, to say the least. No pun intended, because we have a Stanford scientist that confirms extraterrestrial visits. Yay! You guys need to drop that, put that cookie down right now. Like this video if you like videos like that. Subscribe if you're brand new. We upload every single day. And the topics today are the Pentagon, extraterrestrial intelligence, and crash UFO. Buckle the hell up, guys. You guys gonna like this one. Roll it.
Curious, do you believe that extraterrestrial intelligence has visited planet Earth?
I think you can go a step further. It hasn't just visited, it's been here a long time, and it's still here.
Holy.
And it has basically, people talk about the wow signal, looking for extraterrestrial intelligence. The wow signal is that people see it on an almost regular basis. That's the communication that's already here.
And that statement seems so incredible that it's tough to believe, right? Like, people hear that, and maybe a lot of people here hear that, and they don't believe it.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, if you had to assign a probability to that statement, that you believe extraterrestrial intelligence has visited this planet, what probability would you assign?
100%.
Holy.
100%.
That's crazy, huh?
That's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, this mirrors Colonel Carl Nell's argument that NHI, non-human intelligence, has been here for a long time, and he had all the clearances, military clearances.
Yeah.
I did a reaction video to his recent SALT conference interview. You can check it out on the channel. But this from Garry Nolan, 100%. I mean, he is a renowned doctor.
Yeah, the title is 100% Aliens Have Already Arrived, Dr. Garry Nolan and Alex. And the stuff that is about to come, I think you guys are really gonna be baffled by it. It's about to be baffle mania out here. But the thought of us being alone or not alone is equally terrifying, because if we're alone, which I don't believe, but maybe you do, and that's fine though. Let me know if you believe or not believe, and perfectly fine if you do or not. But the thought of us being alone or not alone, equally terrifying. If we are alone, then why us? Why how it all happened? Why? Yeah, we can give like religious explanation of why or how it happened, but I'm a religious as well, but I'm talking still, like, we gotta be objective with it and try to think rationally as well. But okay, we have religious explanation, but still, like, what's the purpose of life? Why are we here, right? And if we're not alone, still the question is, what is our purpose? Why are we here? And where is everybody? Or I guess the right question would be, okay, where is everybody, but why is everybody, when I say everybody, I mean like the aliens, the extraterrestrial life, right? Why is everybody not revealing themselves? Why are they hidden, right? You know what I mean, right?
Esteemed doctor over the entire world, to say 100% is just amazing. You know, not 99%, not, I'm kind of sure. He says 100%, puts everything on the line.
And that's not just my opinion. I mean, look, the National Defense Appropriation Act, passed last year, signed by Biden in December. 30 pages of that is the establishment of an unidentified aerial phenomenon office, the establishment of looking into the harm that's happened to any of a number of the individuals, going back to 1945 and looking at the disinformation and misinformation that has been basically articulated over the decades. 12 U.S. senators have signed on to a document that basically says we want the information. The establishment of an office, ARROW, in the Department of Defense, has 25 people working in it right now. And what's their goal? Collecting the information across all of the U.S. Department of Defense intelligence offices, and collation of that into a uniform format for the very first time, and provision of that then to Congress. The creation of a whistleblowers program specifically that allows people from within, who, I'm going to say this, who've been working on the reverse engineering programs, reverse engineering of objects, so that they can come in and break their oaths, but it's specifically just to talk to Congress and give that information in classified settings. And that the most recent one that happened was just last weekend.
Oh, shit.
And it created quite a hornet's nest
Okay, which one? I hope he gives us the name and maybe we can do a video on it later on. Yeah, I'm curious about it because I thought he was gonna talk about David Grush, right? But nah, it's probably someone else. Or maybe they did a new Congress meeting with David Grush. Yeah, where is the stuff with David Grush, right? When is that coming out?
In Washington.
Okay, so yeah, the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2023 really was fantastic. And it created the Aero Office. We've seen really terrible results from that. Dr. Kirkpatrick, who was leading it, noted skeptic. He said right from the beginning that there's no evidence of NHI. He's been saying that ever since. So the Aero Office hasn't really lived up to any, I guess, hopes that we had in the UFO community, at least for those people that want disclosure of UFO information, UAP information. But the NDA Act for fiscal year 23 did give a lot of protections to whistleblowers, and that's where we got the 40 plus whistleblowers, now over 50 whistleblowers. So it did start the snowball, right? And the fiscal year 2024 NDAA was totally shot down. The UAP Disclosure Act was fully hamstrung, crushed essentially by Mike Turner and Mike Rogers in the House. But like you mentioned, there are 12 senators, and that is a lot of senators signing off. And Mike Rounds recently said that he is furthering UAP transparency in the Senate, and Tim Burchett has also created the UAP Transparency Act in the House. So they're still pushing on.
And so let's just create kind of like a logical framework here. So we start at the top. We say now there's 100% probability that extraterrestrial intelligence has visited Earth.
Insane,
now we have to go down to why that statement may be true, why you believe that statement is true. What is the evidence? And I think perhaps we all may have to read between the lines a little bit here. You may not maybe divulge everything, but in your opinion, what...
Yeah, has he seen proof? I'm curious about that, right? Because, of course, like, even I could say sitting here, like, oh, 100%. I mean, deep down, I believe 100%, of course. Like, we cannot be alone, though. But are they really here? That's the part, like, feelings-wise, I would say yes. But objectively, that part, of course, I don't know, man. I never seen an alien. I never seen a UFO in the sky. I never. How many of you guys seen UFOs? Because I read my comments, and some of you guys do say that you have seen it. And if you had experience, definitely share in the comments.
What do you believe to be the most compelling evidence to support that statement?
Well, I think the most compelling evidence is you just need to look at what your government is doing right now about it. I mean, just go and look at the number of politicians, and this is interesting, on both sides of the aisle who have come together and signed off on this statement. I mean, I was involved last year with putting together some of the wording of the NDAA, which was passed into law. So, I mean, so what are they basing their opinions on? They're basing their opinions on the dozens of individuals who, in one manner or another, have come forward and talked to them in classified settings. So that's the first thing. Then my personal experiences with the individuals who are, well, the one person who actually was involved with collecting a lot of that original information, and then my experience with people who, frankly, I know have worked or are working on the reverse engineering programs.
Sure.
I mean, if you could imagine you're a politician, you know, Marco Rubio, Chuck Schumer, Mike Rounds, these guys, big-time senators, you know, well-known, maybe aspirations for president, and now they're saying, yeah, we support looking into UAP disclosure, UAP transparency.
Yeah.
And Chuck Schumer stood on the Senate floor and said that there is UAP information the government has that they are not releasing. I mean, you can imagine that. It's not like it's going to necessarily help your career. So they must have a lot of people coming to them. Marco Rubio even said...
It's insane, right? Because, of course, surely a lot of, simply put, a lot of people do believe it's psyops. Okay, fair. You know, we gotta explore all the different possibilities. Some people believe that you cannot trust David Grush or all of the people that are now coming out talking about it. But the argument that he's making is that, hey, on both sides, there is talks happening and there's discussion happening. They're signing NDAA. I don't know what's that term for. NDA, I understand, non-disclosure agreement. Basically, for those of you that do not know, you sign that and you cannot talk about it, right? And if you do talk about it, if you leak the information, it would be considered leak, and then you can actually get sued for it as well if you break the NDA. But he's talking about NDA. So extra A at the end. That part I'm not sure. Perhaps it's to do with the same thing, but like they're adding extra A to sound kind of cool with it, I guess, because this is, I guess it's way above NDA, so adding like an extra layer of security there, or I guess stakes added. Like if you leak it, you can you're probably not just gonna get sued. You're gonna be sued to oblivion, right? Yeah, you feel what I'm saying? So yeah, but right now there's a lot of discussion happening. I like it as an enthusiast, as somebody that believes in. I love it, but hey, it's getting tiring. I want to see the proof out there too. Like the video if you agree.
That they've had many people in high positions, currently serving in high positions, saying that all this is true, that there's a crash recovery program and that there's actual biologics, right? NHI biologics, however you can define that. So imagine it's not easy for these guys just to come out and say this is not necessarily a huge career helper.
Okay, so let's take one step back. Reverse engineering programs.
Of downed craft. Now, the first question that people will ask is, well, if they're so frigging advanced, why are they crashing?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
what's crashing is not actual living things. I mean, I use this example a lot. If you wanted to study a tribe of cannibals in the middle of the Amazon, are you going to go yourself and show up in the middle of the tribe and not hopefully become dinner on the other side of it?
We're gonna send
So
drones.
if you're an advanced intelligence, I don't think we're all that advanced, frankly. You're not going to basically put your life and limb at risk by coming here. So mostly what you're seeing here are either drones or some sort of advanced AI or whatever it is. I mean, look, we're already dealing with an alien intelligence in our own emails, right? Our own, Chat GPT, et cetera. We don't even know what it's doing. So imagine if you were a million years ahead of us. How do you have a dialogue?
And this is one of those things, right, that is always brought up. Like, there are millions of years ahead of us, thousands of years ahead of us. Yeah, on paper sounds makes sense, right? And the universe is so big, billions of galaxies, and every galaxy got billions of planets. If that is true, listen, I wasn't there out in the space like looking at billions of galaxies, but if what they say is true, mathematically speaking, the chances of us being alone is 0%. I'm sorry, but it's 0%. Mathematically speaking, just look at in our own planet here, right? So many different types of cats, different breeds of cats, dogs, animals, mammals. You got birds, so many different kinds of birds as well. We got so many different ethnicities, races as well. It's insane. It's just crazy. Yeah, 6,000 different species for bees alone. Oh shit! Yeah, like Google that. I read that 6,000 different species of bees. It's insane, truly baffling numbers. Yeah, so you're saying that there is so much life on this planet, but there is none on the other planets, or none in the universe at all? Not absolutely crazy. I refuse to believe that, but that's the thing though. So if there are multiple different life out there, equally or if not more intelligent than us, the Homo sapiens, some of them, I guess, gotta be millions of years ahead of us. Some might be in the Stone Age in comparison to us. Others might be just like hundreds of years, or some might be like thousands of years advanced than us. I refuse to believe that all of them gonna be like millions of years advanced than us. And if someone is really, like if a species is really millions of years ahead of us, I would like to believe that some of them likely are more intelligent in some aspects in comparison to us, but surely not everything though, right? Like what language do they speak? Like how do they communicate? If they land here, are we gonna be able to communicate with them in English? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or is it like telepathic, like they always say?
Dialogue with something like that, or what is it that could possibly do?
Yeah.
That's super interesting. Saying that these could basically be drones, that kind of mirrors what David Grush had said, is that they call it biologics, because he said some of this may not have even been alive. Like, we don't know if it was actually ever alive. And then you hear about the weird aliens, like the Greys. They don't seem to have any like genetic transfer information. They don't have any sexual organs a lot of the times, right?
Crazy.
Also, how do they digest food? And you just hear strange stories about these possibly being like biological drones. Could they be just some sort of manufactured biologic organism in order to interact with us or communicate with us, and then keep the actual NHI, so the real aliens, the real non-human intelligence?
You imagine like Transformers, Transformers the movie? Imagine something like that is real, where we have like robots, aliens. I guess in the future, if we're successful with the AI and if all goes well, that's gonna become its own entity, or it already is in a way, but you know what I mean, right? Like if you have ever played a game called Detroit Become Human, very good game. I'm not sure how many of you guys are gamers or not. I have a main channel, that's where I mostly cover gaming stuff, so those of you that are gamers, I guess you know what I mean, right? But if not, I guess simply put, in the future we're gonna get robots, and if all goes well, that's gonna become like its own race. So if we send out robots in space, because you bet they are gonna do that in the future, maybe not now, maybe not in the 5-10 years from now, but eventually they will, right? So those are gonna be like aliens to other people. I mean, we're aliens to the aliens in a way, right? And that's gonna become its own race as well. And as we get down to the climax here, guys, I want to say this: if you want to help support this channel, consider becoming a member by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button. Helps out a ton. It's similar to the Patreon thing, but it's on YouTube. If you're able to, it's gonna be a pleasure to have you. Alright, let's get back to the content now, boo boo.
safe, or can it not even interact with us? Maybe it's on some whole different level of existence, level of life that we don't understand yet. I've proposed scalar forms of life, so larger macro life. You know, could that be one of the answers? Very strange that they would be drones, that he argues. And then you wouldn't really care if they were crashed or shot down. Often they actually are just there, totally unmanned. I've heard stories like that, where the craft is just sitting there, operational, but no one's in it. It's like a gift, like they're being gifted here or something.
I'm glad we got some people here to witness these statements.
Just perhaps on a reconnaissance mission, right? I guess they're there to spy on us.
I think they're very consequential. And so we start with now 100% probability of extraterrestrial intelligence. We go to evidence. We now talk about downed craft. We see the government moving in a certain direction. Presumably the downed craft is made of some material. Presumably we could test that material. I know you've done a little bit of work firsthand. You have seen some material. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Right. Well, what is it that you hope to discover out of a material? So let's just go back, I mean, just briefly, and why would you want to do it in the first place? So basically, a grain of silicon, you know, back in the 50s or 60s changed our entire culture and world, right? I mean, so something as small as that, the discovery of what you could accomplish with a little piece of germanium doped with the right elements, changed our understanding. Now, so we have multiple simultaneous sensor systems that have seen these objects go from 50 feet above the water to up to 14 miles and then back in less than a second, all right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
crazy.
just a truth. The U.S. government has confirmed that these kinds of measurements are done. Now, they're very careful what they say. They say, well, we have no evidence of ET. Well, because, you know, no ET is going to come walking in here and say hello, right? But if you read between the lines on the flip side of it, it does stuff that we can't do. We know that the Russians and the Chinese are not doing. And so if you can go from 0 to 5,000 miles an hour and take a right turn and not end up squished like a bug on the windscreen on the other side, if they have windscreens, then what is the physics that accomplishes that? So what that tells you is that we need to rethink our physics, first of all, to say that, well, you know, we saw birds fly, so it took us 3,000 years and we figured out how to fly. But now we see these things doing this. So what is it that lets us do? So I know some of the physicists on the inside who work at some of these big defense corporations who basically said, oh, well, here's how you tweak even general relativity to accomplish that. But then you say, well, how much energy is needed to do it? Well, more than the whole nuclear output of the planet per day, per movement. So you start to backtrack and you say, okay, well, who could do that? Well, we can't. Will we be able to do it in 1,000 years? But if we had a piece of any of this, let's say it's 1,000 revolutions ahead of us, or 1,000,000 revolutions ahead of us, even a tiny piece of knowledge from that could revolutionize what it is that we're doing.
Absolutely.
I'm always looking for the opportunity. I look at the upside of this. I'm not worried about them coming and, you know, raiding us or taking our women and children. That's not my concern. My concern is how do we
hide your kids, hide your wives, guys. Definitely, 100%. Do it tonight.
Use it.
That's not my concern. My concern is how do we use it? And already there are talks of reverse engineering them, right? Yeah,
that's amazing statements there. If you look at material science, it's probably the biggest single benefit that you can reverse engineer, right? If you see it's possible to make something where you see some material that can hold amazing energy, just how it's structured, that could give a huge benefit to any military, obviously, right? And this would be the main reason why they're keeping the secret, so they're not allowing this information out. And Gary says that we do have the information. The government does have the information. If you look at the Nimitz case, Gary Voorhees, he radar technician, said that when the Nimitz was captured by the actual Roosevelt, so highly classified, very accurate, top secret radar on that ship, an Aegis class cruiser, that radar data was taken. It was taken by people in Air Force insignia, which is highly non-standard, right? The captain actually came down and said, yeah, give it to them. And we've heard nothing more about the Nimitz, right? So during that case, they said that the UAPs moved from right above the water 50 feet up to 28,000 feet.
Crazy.
Immediately. So how could you move around like that? I've argued that they know how to manipulate light, so they basically able to.
And here's the thing, right? Like, okay, so some of them are just like, let's just say UFOs are alien drones that are perhaps on a reconnaissance mission where they were collecting information and seeing like what the Homo sapiens, us little peasants, are doing here. Or some of them are just like, okay, you know what, like, or what if like they're playing video games on their own planet and they're controlling, you know how you would play GTA and in you would be like flying a plane, right? Exactly, right? If you're a gamer, I guess that's the one easy way to say. What if like they on their own planet are just playing with these drones and just hopping around like planet to planet, like visiting, and they are playing their own version of Starfield, if you catch my drift, if you get that reference. So could be that too. And if we're going from like 10 feet to 50,000 feet within a second like that, insane. If you throw a human in there, dead in an instant, right? Because of the gravity and the pressure. My question is that can an alien sit in there and do that? Can a human perhaps sit in that UFO and do something like that and be unaffected by it? Is there really a technology in that exists? Perhaps, yeah, it's defying gravity, let's be real. So defying gravity, it has that technology. Now, if you sit inside and you do movements like that, can you still be alright? Are you gonna feel the G's? Are you not gonna feel the G's? Yeah, right? That's one of those things. Yeah, I guess we wouldn't know till they actually reveal that, or you are able to sit inside a UFO by yourself and control that dang thing.
Turn their ships into light, or somehow move like light would move, right? With no weight, no inertia. It's the only way I can consider it. So he says there, we do have the information in the government, and if they could get a small piece of that, it would be a huge advantage, huge revolution for our military. That's the main reason, one of the main reasons they're not going to share this information.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, do you have confidence that
money, man, money and war, bro.
Us collectively will have material, literal physical material to evaluate, to analyze?
Yes, 100%.
100% again. Okay.
It's there. It's there. It's. I mean, I can say this. I was working with a group about 7-8 years ago, and I literally got within a few weeks of gaining access to one of the objects. And when the people who didn't want us to gain access to it found out about it, they pulled some bureaucratic administrative tricks and snatched it away.
Of course.
Wild.
That's amazing. So he says right there, 100% that there were materials, and he almost got to it. Again, being protected by a small group of people, it sounds like.
And makes sense, right? I mean, even the Pentagon has claimed that they have acquired unearthly vehicles. Yeah, if you didn't know, you can Google unearthly vehicles Pentagon. You're definitely gonna come across numerous articles, and that happened around when we were in a pandemic, right? So in 2020, and yeah, a lot of that news went over a lot of people's noses and heads.
And so now we have you, Dr. Nolan, making this bold statement. You are well positioned to make this statement. Now maybe we get into like some fun. Let's like feel comfortable hypothesizing a little bit as to what is happening. Like what is it, right? Like, and nobody's gonna hold you to this, right? Now maybe we go down from 100% probability to now we're speculating,
right?
Okay? Now let's speculate together. What do you think it is?
Right. So to do that, I'll start with kind of a mantra I've had for the last while. So, you know, individual experiences of what people see is an anecdote, but an anecdote doesn't convince a scientist. What is it that convinces a scientist? Data, right? What doesn't convince scientists? A conclusion. So really the objective here, and what has allowed me to actually talk to some of my scientist colleagues who first said, Gary, you're going to ruin your career. Well, okay, whatever, it's too late for that. But I haven't. Because I basically say, look, if you and I can agree that the data is real, irrespective of what the potential conclusions might be, the hypotheses, then the onus is no longer on me to come up with an answer. Now it's also on you, because we're having a discussion about this. So it's believe the data, not the conclusion. So you see the data, and that's where the fun is. That's where the hypothesis starts. So, you know, people have come up with all kinds of ideas, everything from future humans, future AI coming back to us because somehow they figured out time travel, to what's called the ultra-terrestrial hypothesis that they are part of. I'm sure some people here at least know what a von Neumann probe is, right? This idea of a self-replicating machine that could have been developed by a technology or a civilization on the other side of the galaxy that even in just a few 100 million years could make its way by conventional means all the way across the galaxy. And when it gets there, it basically builds copies of itself, and it does what it's doing, and it basically, some other civilization sent it out. Now, Avi Loeb was here last year, so I'm part of an SAB with Avi Loeb on a company called Copernicus Space Corporation, and guess what? Our objective is to build the first von Neumann probes to go out and spread humanity's original presence across all of reality. So that's one of the others. A third one is...
What do you, Gary, Dr. Nolan, you have to speculate. What do you think it is? Let's be bold.
I think it is an advanced form of intelligence, something that we don't understand, that is using some kind of intermediaries, however it is, like I said about you're not going to end up in the middle of the tribe, the angry monkeys that are flinging muck at each other, or nuclear bombs. You're not going to show yourself in the middle of the angry. You're going to send intermediaries. You know, it's not that they walk amongst us, that you wearing a skin suit are actually the alien, right? No, you're going to basically put something there that is, I think of it as an intelligence test. Can you see what's in front of you for what it really is? Can you see the anomalous data point that is there that you realize what it is? I mean, when the South American native tribes first saw the Spanish ships coming across the horizon, they didn't realize what it was. They couldn't see it for what it was. So, this is, as I said before, this is the kind of the wow factor.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys heard about the North Sentinel Island. It's near India. I believe it's claimed by India as theirs, right? Their land. But they left North Sentinel alone because there's a tribal group on it, right? Yeah, look up on that, because some people have tried going there and basically they got killed by the locals there. And those people, the tribal group, they're so like out of the loops, like they do not know. I'm sure when they see planes in the sky, they think of, I don't know what they think of. I really cannot answer that, but they're so away from civilization, it's absolutely insane. So think of it like in the Stone Ages, right? That's truly what it is. No internet, they probably don't even know like what's out there, because they live in their own bubble, and that's it. And basically we, all of us here, we have like left them to be on their own, because every time they tried, I'm saying like the government or the people in power, whenever they tried to make contact with them, they're met with hostility. So whenever you approach it, it's like they're shooting arrows and all that. There are pictures taken of that as well. So yeah, they're like good pictures. When I say good pictures, still bad quality, but you can see like some North Sentinel tribal group like holding arrows, trying to shoot you down and all that. Yeah, like it's insane. So even on our own planet, we have like lands which are completely alien to us. I mean, our oceans are alien to us as well. We truly don't know what's down there actually. So
yeah, they're showing up, they're saying, well, who amongst you are intelligent enough to realize what it is that you're looking at?
Yeah.
They don't have to land on the White House lawn. We can always make the joke about, is there intelligence in DC at all, right? You just need to show yourself to enough to acculturate.
Yeah.
Now, if you've been around for a long time, and this is something that I do think is, they've been around for a long time, they are affecting our culture, right? It's actually often thought that many of the religions that we think of as the most important have been part of this process.
uh-oh.
I mean, there are so many tangents to go down. We have about 1 minute.
Some people believe in Anunnakis as well. Have you heard of that? The Anunnakis, man, Anunnakis. I was actually doing an acting gig, right? I was working on a set, and I met the guy. Maybe he's watching this video. If you're watching this video, bro, DM me on Instagram that you heard me say that. Yeah, I'm talking about you. So yeah, I was having basically like I met a guy there, right? And we started chatting, and all of a sudden, one conversation to the next, and he asked me what I do. I was like, I do YouTube. Like I got a couple of channels like gaming, and then I talked about UFOs and conspiracy, like this channel that you're currently watching, right? He was like curious. He was like, okay, like and then we started chatting, right? Like I was like, Dr. Steven Greer. He's like, nah, I don't believe that guy. This and that, and all of a sudden we were talking about the Anunnakis, and he was actually believing in the Anunnakis. Actually, I was telling him personally, okay, I don't believe in that. Maybe they were real. At the end of the day, nobody knows how truly this started, right? Like, I don't know how we got here, all that. Nobody knows. I mean, religiously, like, yeah, we got explanation, but I'm not talking about religiously here. I'm just talking in general. Like, we don't know what happened, how we got here. And he was like, nah, man, look, I believe the Anunnakis made us. And I was like, yeah, okay, I mean, fair. That's your opinion, right? But yeah, man, it's insane. Like, there are a lot of people that are starting to believe that it might be the Anunnakis that made us. And I was like, okay, so for a second, let's believe that the Anunnakis made us. Then who made the Anunnakis? You know, it's a rabbit hole that never truly ends. So your answer is probably gonna be, okay, so the Anunnakis are either made by God or somebody else created Anunnakis. Okay, so if somebody else created Anunnakis, then who created that somebody else, right? You know what I mean, right? Yeah, so it's a never-ending cycle. It's the rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. I hope when we pass away and when we die, I hope we are given the answer, man. It would be real sad if we're not given the answer. I know the atheists must be like laughing right now. They would be like, yeah, well, you die and nothing happens, right? So they must be laughing right now. But as a religious folk myself, I hope like you're given the answer. I believe that there is a hereafter. Absolutely gotta be. I hope you're given an answer, man. Like, yeah, right? Like, I wanna be, yeah, bro. Like, what the hell are we doing here, man? I wanna know. I wanna be given the answer, bro.
45 seconds. Wow, we've covered a lot, though.
That seems like Jacques Vallée's argument is that the NHI is somehow affecting our culture, affecting all of humanity. That it's a control system. That's what he's argued, to affect our culture. It's also interesting. I didn't know he was in business with Avi Loeb to create the first von Neumann probes, the Copernicus effort. That's quite interesting. Create our own humanity Neumann probes to go and spread throughout the galaxy. Seems like that would be the next step of humanity, right? Would be to spread out, become multi-planetary,
Multi-planetary.
multi-solar area. He also highlights there again about what the NHI is. I'm glad he speculates. A lot of people will not speculate on that. Like I said, he likes to just stick to the data, but then he does speculate. It comes from a higher intelligence, some other intelligence, and they use intermediaries. That's why it seems so strange. And could the intermediaries be through our consciousness? It seems like consciousness seems to be a part of all of this. People have weird effects, weird time lapses. You know, is the interaction happening in some other part of our reality, right? Maybe it's not happening in exact three-dimensional space-time that we understand. Maybe it's happening in some other consciousness realm. And that could lead to all of the strange, weird effects that we hear about. Extremely strange. All the woo.
You know, I think
Baffling.
what you just said feels like it has
Baffling,
strong
yeah.
parallels to religion, to what's happening with AI right now, to the simulation hypothesis. Like, they all are kind of saying something very, very similar here.
Right.
And I guess I'm curious, right, as we wrap this up, what happens next?
Well, what happens next is, I mean, what you're actually seeing is what's happening next is the professionalization of this. Right?
We die. That will happen next.
It's not just me. I mean, I have many now scientists with whom I'm working. Right? There's Ryan Graves, who was one of the pilots that saw some of the objects in those videos. He's got the American Institute of Aeronautics and Engineers, 50,000 strong organization. He's got a group within them, as well as a 501c3 for civil aviation.
Yeah.
You know, we've used, and I'm just going to be honest, we've used the threat narrative that these things are showing up repeatedly. I mean, this is today. They're showing up repeatedly around our ships. So I think the objective has been to make it okay to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we made it okay to talk about it, we opened the apertures on the filters on the sensor systems. That's what partly led to the seeing of those Chinese balloons. You wouldn't have seen them if it weren't
Crazy.
for that.
Yeah.
Right? Because we created laws that said it's time to open the apertures, because they were only looking at particular flight paths of things that look like a missile or a plane. So that's the next part. I'm frankly involved with the development of a 501c3 myself. We're calling it the Sol Foundation. And our objective is to actually write policy papers for governments, and commercial enterprises to basically give them the opportunity to think about it. It's not that it's going to happen tomorrow. It's a slow release process, we think. But
I hope in the next 50 years we have
to basically
Painful.
give that opportunity. And then to develop, what I'm doing actually is developing novel kinds of materials analysis pipelines for basically analyzing the material which is in the public sphere or the semi-public sphere, but then also, frankly, as a goad and a lure to bring in those who do have the stuff behind the scenes so that they can say it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure covering this one here. Check out this video on the screen. This is the last conspiracy that we touched on. If you have already seen it, then check out the video on the left where we have a ton of these UFO clips as well. That's gonna baffle your mind tonight. Yay, the night is still young. Definitely check it out, and I'll see you right there.